enemy at the end of the day, family, wants to keep you so busy, wants to keep you so in this loop of, let me do it, let me do it, let me do it, let me hustle, let me grind, let me get it, let me get it, let me hustle, let me grind, let me get it, let me get it, he wants to get you in this place of just doing, and you don't even feel right not doing, because if you're not doing, you're not making, and God's like, that's not my way, that's the enemy's way. You've bought into this other way of thinking, and that's not my way. My way is delayed gratification. My way is faith. My way is resting in my promises. See, Ariel, the only way Ariel actually got out of the ocean, hear me. The only way she got out of the ocean, the only way Cinderella got into the palace, the only way Aladdin actually met his destination, the only way these things ever happened wasn't by them hustling to get there. It was them accepting their identity and trusting that every aspect of who they are, every fiber of their being was for a purpose. The only way Ariel got to the top was she went to her dad. Once everything was said and done, once the curse was broken, because her dad had to step in. People had to step in to save her. That's what ends up happening when we start making deals with the devil. Somebody got to save you. And people think money is the answer, but family, we know of billionaires that go into bathrooms and unalive themselves. So we must know that money ain't the answer. We know that relationships aren't the answer, because there's people that are married in relationships that have unalived themselves too. We know that status isn't the answer, because we also know people that have had status that feel lonely and empty and unalive themselves as well. We know that these things are broken cisterns. They cannot hold water. And the enemy will tempt you with those things, thinking that that's going to cause you to have fulfillment. They're not. They're broken cisterns. They can't hold water. And the enemy will tempt you with a broken cistern that can't hold water. Trick you into thinking that you can do it yourself. You just got to work it, hustle it, and God's going to, if you are chosen, God's going to keep trying to find a way out of what God is telling you to do. You keep trying to find a way to do it your way, to put it in your strength, I'm going to get it this way. No. Okay, well, that didn't work. I'm going to get it this way. Okay, that didn't work. I'm going to put it this way. And God's like, nah, nothing you do right now is going to work. Nothing. Because you're chosen and you're called and you're unwilling to surrender the process. So I'm just going to let you run out of you and you get tired of you until you try me fully, my way. That's what happened with Ariel. Think about the story. Ursula creates a counterfeit that has Ariel's voice, because Ariel gave up her voice, gave up her identity, gave up her gifts to accomplish her dream. Now she's on the land and this man can't identify her because he only knows her through her voice. So then she sends this counterfeit that happens to be her, but not her, with Ariel's voice mixed with magic, to put this man under her spell and distract him long enough to where Ariel can't get her voice back. Do y'all catch that? That the enemy will distract you long enough with a counterfeit. Long enough to get you out of promise. happens to so many different people. We get distracted. We start trying to figure it out ourselves, trying to do it ourselves, trying to make it happen ourselves. And we're like, God's way, I got to wait too long. I got to do too much. God's way is like, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. God's way is you're trying so hard. You're doing all these things. You're trying to make it happen. And God's way is like, no, I need you to rest. God's way is different, family. Ooh, y'all, I'm sorry. Y'all might not like this, but I'm getting into spirit. I can't control it. God's way is different. God's way is, trust me, I got you. Man's way is, I'm going to make it happen. And when you try to go from man's way to God's way, it's hard because you want to do, God wants you to trust. You want to do, God wants you to trust. And in this story, Ariel gets caught up in doing because Ariel wanted it to happen her way sooner. And that's us wanting control. That's us wanting to have the ability to say what does happen and doesn't happen is within our control. And so the enemy sees her and she's like, oh, you're vulnerable. You want that, don't you? Because the enemy's not going to come up with some horns in a pitchfork. The enemy's going dressed up, disguised as an opportunity, disguised as your perfect mate, disguised as everything but what God has for you. Distracting you. Because you know, and I know when we're with counterfeits, we're never fulfilled. Counterfeit, you always compromise with a counterfeit. If you're in a counterfeit job, you're not going to be fulfilled. If you're in a counterfeit relationship, you're not going to be fulfilled. If you're in a counterfeit anything, you're not going to be fulfilled. Because God has a person for you. God has a place for you. God has a purpose for you. And when we're working outside of purpose and we're shortchanging our soul for a dream that makes sense or does not make sense without the creator of the dream. We see that today, family. We're seeing that today. We are seeing how people have exchanged parts of themselves. They've worked, they've sacrificed, they've compromised, and they've made deals with the devil, with the dark forces at work. And they've been promoted quickly. We see it all the time. Overnight, they become a celebrity. Overnight, overnight, overnight. Only the enemy promotes without process, family. Why? Because he knows you can't steward the process or the promise well. So he puts you in a position to fail because he doesn't care about you. He cares about power. All of it, just like Ursula in the movie. I hope you're following me, y'all. I know this is deep. I know I got really deep on this, but y'all, it hit me like a ton of bricks when I was watching. So some of y'all might catch on to this. Some of y'all may not. But we see it all the time where people are promoted quickly. And we're like, what happened to them? Overnight. Yeah, he didn't care about them. He cared about power. He cared about the song they was going to put out. He cared about the influence it was going to have on a generation. He cared about what kind of power he would have after this went viral. That's all he cared about. You're just a pawn in the enemy's game. It's not you winning. It's not about that. It's about power. Just like Ursula, it was about power. It wasn't about Ariel's voice. It was about using Ariel's voice to gain power. That was the whole point of it. And a lot of us, we're looking for shortcuts. We're looking for short ways to get to the top. And some of that requires us doing things that we know are not what God is calling us to do. Us doing things out of purpose, out of alignment, to make what we think we want happen faster. And every time you do that, you're making a deal with the devil. Every time you do that, you're standing in agreement with the dark forces at work. Every time. Why? Because the enemy wants you to settle. The enemy doesn't want you to get to purpose. The enemy doesn't want you to exercise your full potential. Why? Because every time you actually reach potential and you reach purpose, you hurt the kingdom of darkness. So why would he want you to get on top of and explore this whole new world? Why would he? Why would he? Why would the enemy want you to win without profiting in some way from you winning? I say all this to say this, family. The only way Ariel ever got to promise was when she stopped trying to make it happen in her own strength. Unfortunately, she was in too deep. She wanted to make it happen her own way. She was in too deep. Now they had to break a spell and now had to completely take down this entire woman, witch's kingdom of darkness and under the sea. But her disobedience caused a whole world of trouble that they then had to clean up. And then she could be promoted to promise. She was promoted to promise. And that was that. That's all we know. Is that once her disobedience led to her having to now have this all-out war with the devil. And y'all, of course, that's the devil. Oh, what do you mean? Have y'all ever been in a situation where you were disobeying God and you made more of a mess of your life than it was before? That in you trying to fix a problem, you made more of a problem with your effort. Don't sit here and tell me you haven't. Let's not play holier than thou. I've definitely been there. I've definitely tried in my own strength to make things happen, and I was wrong. I've definitely in my own strength, when God told me to be still, I tried to make things work and it didn't happen. I've definitely been guilty of trying to make relationships happen that shouldn't have happened. Made job opportunities happen that shouldn't have happened. Stay in places longer than I should have when I should have left earlier. I've disobeyed God when he told me to move, and I paid the consequences for those decisions. And so now on the other side, I'm now delayed because I was disobedient when God has called me to do something different. We've all been there. We've all been disobedient. I'm not holier than thou. Hey guys, thank you for watching this video. I appreciate you guys. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button, y'all. Let's not just be every once in a while. Let's become family, okay? Friends that are family. Okay, join my family today.